Lillian eventually admitted that she had spent nights in the rooms of her two male housemates on multiple occasions. She confessed that she felt lonely due to her rocky relationship with her boyfriend. Adding to that, the two men had borrowed money from her when their salaries were delayed during the pandemic. Lillian admitted to taking advantage of the situation, expecting them to repay the favor in return for her financial help. Hello, and welcome to our channel. Today, we're back with another intriguing story of real-life events. This one takes us to Yerevan, Armenia, where an unusual situation unfolded under one roof. It's a tale of mixed emotions, unexpected relationships, and a clash between boarders and the mother of the boarding house owner. What's the full story behind this case? Let's dive in and find out. Before we start, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with your friends so they can enjoy these captivating stories as well. Now, let's get into it. This story begins with a woman named Nicole, born in 1971 in Gyumri, Armenia. Nicole spent her younger years as a high school teacher. Outspoken and confident, she was known for her extroverted personality. In 1998, she married Martinez, a government employee working in the Health and Welfare Service. Martinez, 3 years older than Nicole, was transferred to Yerevan 8 months after their wedding. Nicole quit her teaching job to move with him, using her substantial savings to help purchase a luxurious home after initially living in government-provided housing. Despite their comfortable life, the couple faced heartbreak. They were unable to have children. Several rounds of IVF failed, and even adoption proved challenging. In 2009, they adopted a child, but when the boy was 5 years old, his biological parents reclaimed him, breaking the adoption agreement. Although deeply hurt, Nicole and Martinez sympathized with the parents, understanding the powerful bond of flesh and blood. They returned to their quiet lives in their large, empty home. With Martinez frequently traveling for work, Nicole kept herself busy by joining a gym, practicing gymnastics, and participating in a cooking community. Their wealth also allowed them to invest in multiple rental properties spread across 4 suburbs of Yerevan, which Nicole managed herself. Between exercise and collecting rent, she filled her days productively. Even when Martinez suggested hiring a housekeeper to keep her company, Nicole refused, insisting she was strong and independent. Occasionally, she invited her nephew to stay over if she needed companionship. In mid-2019, Martinez proposed an idea to rent out 3 unused rooms at the back of their house near the kitchen. He thought it would liven up the space and provide extra income. Nicole loved the idea, considering it practical and smart. She advertised the rooms on Facebook and even posted a sign on their fence, offering affordable rates ideal for students or young professionals just starting out. Before long, they welcomed 4 boarders. First, there was Aiden, a 25-year-old vocalist working at a local nightclub. Originally from Stepanovan, Aiden was the kind of guy who could light up a room with his smile. Friendly and approachable, someone you couldn't help but like. Then there was Lillian, a 27-year-old insurance company employee from Venadza. Lillian was rarely home, always on the move. She'd leave for work early in the morning and wouldn't return until well past 10 p.m. Lastly, there was Sebastian, a quiet 26-year-old from Manitowok. He worked as a financial admin at an Asian restaurant, and his innocent, unassuming demeanor made him easy to overlook. These 3 boarders shared space with Nicole and her father, Mr. Martinez. During the day, the house was mostly empty, but by evening, it felt a bit livelier. Their presence made the house less eerie at night, which Nicole appreciated. Now, if you took a step back and looked at their lives, these housemates seemed pretty stable. They had solid jobs and were getting by in the city just fine. But everything took a sharp turn in early 2020 when the pandemic hit. The economy stumbled, businesses struggled, and Aiden and Sebastian were no exception. Nightclubs and restaurants were among the hardest hit, with strict limits on hours and capacity. Aiden and Sebastian both found their work hours slashed, their incomes cut, and at times, their paychecks completely delayed. Lillian, on the other hand, seemed to weather the storm a bit better. The insurance industry was still running, and while some of her colleagues faced wage cuts, her job remained relatively stable. For Aidan, though, things got downright bleak. The nightclub he worked at was now only open once a week, and only until 7 p.m. His income plummeted, and he soon found himself struggling to pay rent. In desperation, he asked Nicole's mom for extra time to catch up. At first, she wasn't thrilled about the idea and grumbled about it, but in the end, she couldn't bring herself to kick him out. Times were tough for everyone, after all. Sebastian was also falling behind on his rent, with his paycheck still on hold. Nicole's mom was annoyed but decided to give them a little grace. 1 or 2 months wouldn't hurt, she thought. But as the months dragged on with no improvement, her patience began to wear thin. By August 2020, Aidan hadn't paid rent in 4 months. Nicole's mom finally told him he had to leave. Aidan, desperate and teary-eyed, begged for another chance. He had nowhere else to go. In a moment of hesitation, when her husband wasn't home, Nicole's mom offered him another option, a way to pay the rent without money. Aidan, feeling he had no choice, agreed. What followed happened several times, always in the privacy of his room. It was a Friday afternoon in September 2020 when Mr. Martinez came home from work earlier than usual. Expecting to find his wife, Nicole, in their room, he was surprised to see it empty. Confused, he headed to the back porch, where Lillian was sitting. He asked if she had seen Nicole, and Lillian casually pointed toward Aidan's room. Suspicious, Martinez stormed down the hallway and banged on the young man's door with all his strength. When the door finally swung open, there she was, his wife. Martinez was livid. His anger exploded as he dragged Nicole and Aidan into the living room, demanding answers like a judge interrogating 2 defendants. Under pressure, Aidan confessed. For the past month, he had been in a relationship with Nicole. It wasn't out of love, though. It was because he couldn't pay the rent. Martinez didn't need to hear another word. He gave Aidan an ultimatum: leave immediately or get reported to the police. Aidan didn't argue. He packed his things and disappeared, leaving no trace of where he went next. As for Nicole, she begged for forgiveness, and despite his rage, Martinez eventually let it go. A few weeks later, he had to leave town for a business trip. Concerned about leaving Nicole alone, especially with Sebastian still renting a room, he asked his widowed niece, Grace, to stay over with her 4-year-old son. Grace agreed, and Martinez left feeling slightly more at ease. Things stayed quiet until one Saturday night in September. Around 10 p.m., Nicole spotted Lillian sneaking out of her room with a man. Furious, Nicole confronted her. She didn't like the idea of Lillian bringing a guy into the house. But Lillian wasn't about to back down. Laughing, she snapped, "Oh, come on, Mom. Sanctimonious much. I know all about what you've been up to with Sebastian. Aidan left, but you couldn't resist working on him too, huh?" Nicole's face turned red with anger. She lunged at Lillian, pulling her hair and yelling at her. Grace had to step in and separate them. Once things calmed down, Grace told Lillian to pack her things and leave. Lillian didn't seem fazed. She calmly gathered her clothes and belongings but left with a parting shot. "Be careful, Mom. I've got footage of you knocking on Sebastian's door late at night. Don't think I won't use it." Then she walked out with her boyfriend. Unfortunately for Nicole, Lillian wasn't bluffing. In October 2020, she sent the incriminating video to Mr. Martinez's WhatsApp. When he saw it, he was beyond furious. Nicole's behavior had crossed a line he never thought she'd dare to. Here he was, working hard to provide for their family, while his wife was betraying him in their own home. Martinez confronted Nicole, unleashing a storm of frustration and disappointment. He reminded her of the life they had built together. Sure, they hadn't been blessed with children, but that was no excuse for behavior that disrespected both their marriage and their faith. The betrayal was too much. Martinez kicked Sebastian out of the house immediately. The young man didn't fight back. Instead, he apologized, claiming that everything had happened under Nicole's orders. According to him, she had coerced him into their arrangement, promising to forgive his overdue rent in return. By then, the damage was done. Mr. Martinez could no longer look at Nicole the same way. The house that once seemed lively with boarders now felt empty, and the trust between them was shattered. 2 weeks after the whole incident, Mr. Martinez couldn't shake off the disappointment that had taken root in his heart. No matter how hard he tried, he simply couldn't trust Nicole anymore. Every little thing she did, whether it was going to the gym, meeting up with her cooking group, or even casual outings, became a source of suspicion. He couldn't help but wonder, was she being faithful? After 23 years of marriage, Martinez made a painful decision. He wanted to separate. Despite Nicole's tears and her pleas for another chance, he felt there was no way forward. Her actions had shattered the foundation of their relationship. How could he ever feel secure again, especially knowing she found opportunities to sneak into the boarders' rooms even when family was staying with them? It was just too much to overlook. Fast forward to the end of October 2020. On a Friday, Nicole's anger boiled over, and she decided to confront Lillian directly. She went to Lillian's workplace, but when she arrived, the security guard told her Lillian was out for lunch. Frustrated, Nicole waited around for 30 minutes, but there was still no sign of the girl. Just as she was about to leave, she spotted a small alley beside the building and decided to check it out. At the back door, she found Lillian inside, fixing her makeup. The moment Lillian saw Nicole, she froze, clearly startled. She tried to shut the door, but Nicole burst in, pulling a knife from her bag. Without warning, Nicole lunged at her, causing Lillian to scream. The commotion drew the attention of nearby employees, who quickly intervened and separated the two. Lillian was rushed to the hospital, bleeding from multiple wounds on her back, while Nicole was taken into custody by the police. At the station, Nicole admitted her grudge against Lillian. She blamed the young woman for ruining her marriage, claiming Lillian's actions had pushed Martinez to file for divorce. Nicole went on to describe Lillian as having a bad character, accusing her of staying out late, jumping fences, and causing disturbances at night. She also alleged that Lillian drank excessively and frequently stayed in the rooms of their male boarders, Aiden and Sebastian. Nicole claimed she had long wanted to kick Lillian out but held back out of pity. Lillian, however, told a very different story. She dismissed Nicole's accusations as nothing but lies from a woman desperate to save face. According to Lillian, it was Nicole's own behavior, having affairs with her boarders, that led to the collapse of her marriage. And she had proof. Lillian insisted that Nicole was only angry because she had been exposed. That said, Lillian did admit to staying in Aiden's and Sebastian's rooms on a few occasions. She explained that her relationship with her boyfriend was falling apart, and she had felt lonely. On top of that, both men had borrowed money from her during the pandemic when their salaries were delayed. According to Lillian, she used those debts as leverage to get them to repay her in other ways. Meanwhile, Martinez had already been in touch with a lawyer to begin divorce proceedings. This latest incident only solidified his decision. He couldn't believe how far Nicole had fallen from the kind, loving woman he once knew. To him, it seemed like joining her gym clique had completely changed her. She'd become selfish, reckless, and out of control. When Nicole tried to deflect blame onto Lillian, Martinez shut her down. "Don't blame Lillian," he said firmly. "You need to look at yourself. If she hadn't reported you, you'd still be sneaking around, wouldn't you?" Nicole had no response. She could only sit in silence, the weight of her actions finally sinking in. At the time, Nicole, through her lawyer, tried to negotiate with both Lillian and Mr. Martinez. The plan was simple: convince Lillian to drop the charges and settle things privately, within the family. Nicole was willing to pay compensation for Lillian's medical expenses and any other losses. But Martinez wasn't having it. He firmly told Lillian not to back down and insisted the law should take its course. For him, Nicole's actions had already brought enough shame and humiliation. Despite pressure from his in-laws, who begged him to let it go, Martinez stood his ground. He wanted Nicole to face the consequences of what she'd done. During the trial, the prosecution tried to call Aiden and Sebastian as witnesses, hoping they could shed light on Nicole's behavior. However, neither of them showed up. In fact, they were impossible to track down, likely because they were too embarrassed to be part of the mess. By March 2021, the trial had reached its conclusion. The judge found Nicole guilty of both premeditated assault and attempted murder, citing the knife she had brought from her kitchen as evidence of her intent. She was sentenced to a maximum of 15 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after serving at least 7 years. A month later, Martinez and Nicole finalized their divorce. As part of the settlement, Nicole's family was given a few pieces of property in the suburbs of Yerevan. Some of Martinez's friends suggested he should also sue Nicole for her inappropriate behavior with their boarders, but he decided against it. "What's done is done," he said. "The punishment is enough. Hopefully, it'll teach her a lesson." What lessons can we learn from this story?